Okay, I was not planning on making this video. Well, I was, but not the way I intended. Originally, I was gonna make a video about the Switch 2 price. I was gonna have a segment where I defended the 450 cost of the Switch while bashing the 80 price of Mario Kart World. It was gonna be a whole rant, and it would just end me saying I'll buy it anyway, just to show how pointless it is to complain at the end of the day. And you know what? I was satisfied. And at the end of the day, the video was not meant to be serious, all right? It was meant to be comedic. However, as soon as I finished the script, Nintendo has announced pre-orders will be delayed due to tariffs. This just came out of nowhere, and I just want to talk about it. But not the way that most people are doing it. Because from what I've seen, people are either blaming either Nintendo or Trump for this. And while it is easy just to point fingers and just call it a day, I want to look at this more objectively, I guess. I also want to note that this is not a video of me bashing Trump, nor is it really a video of me defending him either. I'm trying to leave politics out of this. Okay, this is not a political video, but this is a video where I talk about politics, if that makes any sense. Instead, what I'm about to do is present the facts and explain the situation so that we can all understand it, and also give my takes on it. So I introduce to you an uneducated man's guide to the Switch 2 tariffs. Okay, here we go. For context, the President of the United States, where I live, has announced new tariffs on a huge selection of countries. Ironically, he announced these the same day the direct came out. And if you don't know what a tariff is, in short, a tariff is a tax a country imposes on another country's foreign goods. And that is an oversimplification of what a tariff is. I'll leave a link down in the description to explain what a tariff is. It goes way more in detail, but I digress. The whole point of these tariffs is for two reasons. One, to bring back manufacturing to the States, and B, to make other countries pay up. At least that's what the man is saying. And one of those countries happens to be Vietnam, the place where the Switch 2 is being manufactured. Now, I have a question. How much is Vietnam charging the US before? Because it can't be that bad, right? Like, Trump's gotta be hysterical for this, right? Because there's no way it's that bad.
90%? Holy schmoly, no wonder the man's mad.
So yeah, he's hitting them with 46% tariffs. This brings us back to Nintendo. And for context, Nintendo used to have their manufacturing in China until 2019 during Trump's first term, where he applied tariffs to China, making them move to Vietnam. And it's not just Nintendo. A lot of companies move their manufacturing to Vietnam. And a lot of companies have no problem with moving to Vietnam up until now. And this leaves us with the pre-order delays we have now. Now, I highly doubt that Nintendo was expecting this, or at least they weren't expecting them to be this harsh. And it clearly shows due to them not allowing pre-orders in America, but allowing them everywhere else, because this is an American problem. And people are mad. Rightfully so. And now there are rumors that they might increase the price in the US, which is a bad look. And I'm pretty sure Nintendo knows that. And the whole video could just be me complaining about the recent events, but remember, I'm trying to look at this objectively. With that being said, I'll try to be looking at this through Nintendo's eyes, more specifically through a business lens. Let me explain. Nintendo is a business. Well, a very scummy business, but a business nonetheless. And businesses require money.
Yeah, no shit.
And with that, businesses need to make back their investments one way or another. And with the new tariffs, they've essentially hit a brick wall and need to make their money back somehow. And that's why at the beginning I said I don't mind the Switch 2 being $450, not the $80 in Mario Kart. Hell no, you need bugging. And my reasoning for this is considering what the Switch 2 has compared to the original and comparing the price of its competitors, I saw it as at least fair, at least in my eyes. Not the $80 for Mario Kart World. Hell no, you need bugging. Because $450 is like enough to like pay off their investments, but also not expensive enough for like me to go bankrupt. But now with these new tariffs, they need to find a new way to make back their investment. So I looked at this and they really have three options here. One, increase the price. This is the nightmare scenario. Do I personally think it's gonna happen? Probably not, because it would just be bad for business. Because imagine raising the price when you already had an established price, while also not raising the price in other countries you're selling your system. That's going to be not just a bad look, but also they attract many buyers. And if you alienate buyers, it means less sales. And with less sales equals less profits. And with less profits, it means not being able to get back their investment or pay off the tariffs. Two, decrease the price. This is the one that everyone wants, because Clearly, who doesn't want cheaper stuff? And while it is good for the consumer, it is not good for business. Like, yeah, the Switch 2 is popular, don't get me wrong, but betting on Switch 2 sales is just, that is way too risky. I don't know if tariffs apply to games as well, but who knows? So they have to rely on enough console sales and enough game sales just to make back their investment and pay off the tariffs. And that is way too risky. And 3, keep it as is. This one's the one that probably the most realistic and the one I'm hoping for. If they keep the price as is, they don't have to deal with the backlash of raising the price, nor face the major loss of revenue due to cutting the price. But it also comes with a lot of risk as well. So if they keep the price as is, they just gotta like cross their fingers and hopefully it makes enough, which is like very risky. And yeah, that's their options. Very bleak, isn't it? But there is a 4th option. This is very out there. I don't think they're going to take this route, but if they do this, all their tariff problems could go away. And that is, drumroll please, 4, move their manufacturing to the US. Now, this is probably the most out of left field scenario that Nintendo could make, but let me explain. But first, we need to talk about the man himself. More specifically, what's his overall goal?
Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Trump is a guy, alright, but a guy with a lot of ideas. Whether or not they're good or bad, I'll leave that up to you. But remember what I said earlier on why he implemented the tariffs to begin with?
Flashback.
1, to bring back manufacturing to the States, and B, to make other countries pay up.
End of flashback.
Yeah. And I will say this about the guy. He's been consistent about this issue. Hell, he's been saying this since the 80s. Now that he's implementing these, is it working? Kinda. I've read and seen a lot of articles on companies either moving their manufacturing either to or back to the United States. Okay, to be fair, a lot of them are car companies, but my point still stands. Companies, domestic and foreign, are either investing or expanding into the US. And this leaves us with the question. If all these companies are moving to the US to avoid tariffs, why can't Nintendo? Well, a lot of reasons, but this is the most important. And that being the release date. If you remember, the Switch 2 is supposed to be releasing on June 5th. And as I'm writing this, approximately 3 months away. Even if they manage to successfully move all their manufacturing to the US, from investing in buildings, getting the resources, hiring employees, giving them a good wage, getting them the tools to make the damn thing, and getting ways to ship it out to retailers, they're not going to be able to make enough to satisfy everyone. It also doesn't help the fact that if they did, they're going to have to start all over again, which is something that no company wants to do. So if they took this route, they're going to have to do 2 things. A, delay the launch for the States while the rest of the world gets theirs, which can lead to scalping, or B, release it with a limited supply. And if you remember the PS5 launch, we all know how that's going to end up. Yeah, more scalping. So yeah, this isn't really much of an option either. But hey, no more tariffs. And this leads us to this. How is Nintendo gonna go about this? And how are they going to bounce back? I don't know. The Switch 2 has gotta be a prime example of wrong place at the wrong
Time.
It had everything going for it. A summer release, a huge stack of highly anticipated games, interesting features, and advances from the original, and the price is adequate. But with events out of its control, the future of the system looks very unsure, to say the least. But I don't want to end this on a bad note. I read an article where Vietnam is planning to have discussions with the US to reduce the tariffs, so maybe it's not all doom and gloom. Hell, maybe they'll reduce the tariffs to 0, like this one article says. Who knows? And that's pretty much it. I pretty much talked what I wanted to talk about. Also, please don't take any of this seriously. Take all of this with a grain of salt. I just thought it was just a fun video to talk about since the one I was working on just like didn't pull through. Also, please don't argue about politics in the comments because this is not a political video whatsoever. And also, if you do, you're just wasting your time and everyone else's time. So yeah, and at the end of the day, one thing remains true. $80 is still way too goddamn much. Reduce the price already!
One thing, I'm not a big fan of the government. 30 on 30. I'm not a big fan of the government. 30 on 30. I'm not a big fan of the government. 30, 30, 30. I'm not a big fan of the government.